And sorry, folks, we are back as we'll get the notice out. It's a little technical difficulty. Nothing like the blue screen of death to bring you back to reality. But we're back, and while we were gone, the Houston Texans picked Jadeveon Clowney as expected. Jim, how do you see this affecting the Texans' defense?
Oh, well, people might say that Khalil Mack might have been a better pick if you're going to take Clowney and sort of make him an outside linebacker. But the reality is Clowney is the better athlete. He's a fellow that you want to take and have him long term. He'll be a great 3-4 defenseman on pass coverage. They'll just bring him in on plays. He's a game changer. He's a guy that will affect the AFC South. And if they go with a quarterback with their next pick, I think they're doing the right thing. I mean, this is a good pick. It's really solid. It's what they were supposed to do, and you just don't argue with it. People can criticize him and say that, he takes time off or doesn't play all the way through. You know what? He's 20, whatever, he's 20, 21, 22 years old. When he gets in there and plays with the big boys, he looks like a guy that's going to want to step up and be the man. So I love the pick.
Yeah, and like you said, I guess it really only matters with what happens afterwards.
Absolutely. But you know what? I've heard people say that, and by the way, let me comment real quick for anybody listening out there, if you lost the connection, please come back, and if it happens again, just sit tight, refresh your screen. Sometimes this happens, and it's not us. We have the right equipment. We have all the right things. Sometimes the internet just does this.
Yeah, I wish it didn't, obviously.
Obviously. But I think it's great for the Texans. What do you think?
I just get this. I don't like the fact that he was so inconsistent last year. And I understand that there's other things than, football is not a game where one guy can just keep doing his thing over and over again. I don't understand he was doubled and triple teamed for a lot of it. I'm not stupid. I just have this nagging feeling in my gut that this is going to be a bust. I don't have anything to justify it. It's just pure gut. And
would you call it a bust, or he may just not live up to expectations?
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, if you're going to use a first round, the first overall pick on a D end, it's not enough to just not be a bust. You have to. It's not enough for it to just not be a bust. You have to be an all-world player.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I understand that, and but I would say this: it's better. But when you say bust, I'm thinking of Ryan Leaf.
Wow.
Yeah. If Clowney ends up just being a good football player that gets them to the playoffs, I think that's good. If you talk to scouts, the first test of a good scout is whether the players that he recommends help the team get to the playoffs. They're on playoff teams. Then the next thing is the higher they move up, the first thing is, do they make the roster? The second thing is, do they change the team's worth? If they were a losing team, make them into a winning team. And then from there, make them into a playoff team. And from there, make them into a conference championship. And from there, make them the Super Bowl winner. That's how you evaluate it. So if he makes a roster, that's the first thing. And then if he's a difference maker, that's the next test.
Well, and looking at the Texans' depth chart right now, with J.J. Watt, there is an opening, theoretically at the right defensive end spot. You have Whitney Merciless at one outside linebacker spot, and Brooks Reed at the strong side linebacker, according to ourlads.com today. So there's a role for him. I guess when at first stop, when you think about the Texans defense, you're like, well, they have Watt and Merciless, so how much more could they really need on the edge? But there is definitely a place for him on that defense, and to just add another pass rushing weapon. Let's just throw all of the criticisms and all of my gut feelings aside. If he really is the pass rusher and the end all be all athlete that everyone says he is, no one's going to be able to move the ball on the Texans.
Sometimes, Keith, I think you don't wake up on the right side of the bed. cold out there in Rochester?
It's a little cloudy, a little rainy, and a little miserable. I cannot deny that. But it is what it is.
Don't we sound like a married couple now?
No, we always.
Now we totally are.
We always do it. Now I see that the pick has been submitted from the St. Louis Rams here, and like we said, it's got to be Greg Robinson, right? Jim?
Did I say something?
No. Did you? Are you hearing me?
Greg Robinson. Well, I don't know. I mean, I like Jake Matthews at this point. I know my good friend Nolan Cosmic likes Greg Robinson. So, I mean, either way, if the Rams are actually going to exercise the pick, I think you go offensive tackle.
Mm-hmm. And again, do you think this is the final last chance for Sam Bradford to prove himself?
I'll tell you what, if he can get the Rams to the playoffs, I think that would go a long way to helping Sam Bradford. And if he doesn't, I think you're right. Here we go.
All right. And it is Greg Robinson. Offensive tackle from Auburn. And that puts the Jaguars on the clock. So let's quick wrap up about the Rams. You look at the Rams, and they're they're almost like they're taking on the same identity as the Tennessee Titans did under Jeff Fisher. They're kind of a gritty team. They'll punch you in the mouth on defense. And now the question is, can they get the offense in gear? They drafted Tavon Austin last year, who had a decent rookie year, and I'm not going to say anything bad about that. But the question is, can they keep Sam Bradford healthy? And I guess in the second year, is Zach Stacy the real deal at running back? What do you think about that?
You asked me a double question. I'll do my best to remember half of that. Zach Stacy, I think, is the real deal. I mean, here's a player that I think he missed the first couple games, 3 games. I can't recall if it was due to injury or maybe they were sort of putting Zach in his place. But the reality is once he got into the lineup, he was a difference maker. He was steady. He was a workhorse. And I really like Zach Stacy. I don't think he'll be a first-round draft pick in fantasy football. He'll be a second. Okay. But he's a guy that you could draft in a second with the thought that he could actually catapult into the first. He's that good of a running back, and I think he's that good of a running back even against defenses in their division, which are awfully tough against the run. As far as Sam Bradford is concerned, again, this is a proven year for him. If he doesn't, I think they're going to move on from him. I think Jeff Fisher's the kind of guy that the Rams should keep. Even if they want to blame somebody, don't blame Jeff Fisher. He's done a great job of building that roster, and the issue with the Rams personnel is they need to play more consistently. If they can do that, they'll be a winning ball club.
All right, now let's move on to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Do they have to go quarterback with this pick?
No, they don't. I think they could go offensive tackle. They've got Luke Jokel, who they're clearly going to move over to the left side. They could draft the next best offensive tackle, put him over to the right side. They could go linebacker at this point and put somebody at the outside linebacker position like Khalil Mack. I know some people have talked about wide receiver, and I just don't like that pick right now. Again, this is a deep draft for wide receivers, and I'd rather get an impact position player on defense or offense and then get a wide receiver later on down the road. Their next pick, if I'm right and they go position at this point, their next pick should be a quarterback, and after that they can start looking at wide receivers.
Okay. If they choose to pass on a quarterback here, and let's say that they screw themselves out of getting a decent quarterback, which I don't think it'll happen. There's some developable quarterbacks later on in this draft, but let's say that they have to start the season with Chad Henne under center. Is that really that bad?
With Chad Henne under center?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you broke up on me.
No, if the Jaguars have to start next season with Chad Henne under center, is that really that bad?
No. it would be bad if they don't get him some protection.
Yeah, that's he's not the kind of quarterback that can carry an offense on his shoulders. And I see now that
see if Jaguars may do something about it. I mean, they well could. I don't think Chad Henne is the long-term answer. I do think he's a guy that can play well if they give him some protection. For example, he showed some signs of being a better player than people give him credit for 2 seasons ago. But last year he struggled. He was under constant pressure. They had an array of injuries along the offensive line. But, if in reality, Chad Henne is a quarterback that you want to fill in if your main quarterback is injured, because he can win you 2 out of every 3 games while the starting quarterback is out. But for a starter, if they can get one, they should do it in this draft, period.
All right. You know what I think is I'll tell you about it in the break because I don't want to talk any smack about a website that we like. But I think I know what caused my computer to crash. On another note. On an outside note.
What do you think? What do you think the Jags should do? Because I love the organization. I love the people down there. We have family down in Jackson. I've been there several times, and I feel for them because there have been times that the Jaguars have sort of shown sparks of being one tough team, sort of like our favorite team, the Bears, but they seem to be missing something. Now, they're not that organization right now, but I think they definitely could be that organization.
Yeah. I mean, in our draft last night, we had Greg Robinson go in this spot because of a trade. I think that they can easily go offensive line, like you said. I worry about teams that might get itchy for a quarterback. It all depends on whether you believe that quarterback is your guy. Like the Bills taking E.J. Manuel I think it was the 10th spot last year. Is E.J. Manuel the 10th best player in the draft last year? Absolutely not. But the Bills knew who they wanted, so they just went and got him. They didn't want to let him go someplace else. So I have an itchy feeling that they're going to go quarterback here. But you look at where the Jacksonville.
The picks in.
And there it is, Blake Bortles. Central Florida. Blake Bortles, the first quarterback off the board. If you had Blake Bortles in your pool, so who would be the first quarterback gone? Congratulations, you were probably the only one. Amazing.
I hate saying it, that's probably true. It's probably true because Bortles is a guy that, playing in Central Florida, I mean, you can't sit there and say that his competition was the greatest on earth. And he's come on strong based on his performance in some key games. He's certainly a player that I think needs a little bit of development. But the reality is people like him. They think he's coachable. They think he could lead a team. And if that's how you feel about him, he's as good of a pick as any in this situation.
Everyone says that he's NFL ready. Other than Teddy Bridgewater, he was probably the most NFL-ready quarterback in the draft, although some people don't feel as strongly as others. But, they're the Jaguars. They have nowhere to go but up. And you know what? Like we said, if Bortles can't start Week 1, having Henne as your starter is a decent stopgap.
Yeah. I'm a firm believer in the Jaguars are a team that could be one of those turnaround teams this year, especially in that division. Same thing with the Texans. It's the Colts that you would be concerned about in the AFC South. But the Jaguars, I mean, they brought on some players that were formerly of the Seattle on the defense. They've already got a great group in the secondary. So there's not much missing, even though I'd love to see them add a running back that's a little bit more versatile than Toby Gerhart, and another receiver that's a big money threat, sort of like Justin Blackmon, because I just, honestly, at this point, you can't enter the 2014 season and expect anything from Justin Blackmon. So, it's a team that can make some noise, not this year, but 2-3 years from now.
The Jaguars were the lowest-rated passing offense in the NFL last year, according to ProFootballFocus.com. The only thing they did worse than pass, as far as the rating goes, was run block. And they were just absolutely atrocious. So again, talking about the offensive line, that probably would have to be addressed with the next pick. Don't you think that would have to be their next priority?
It's the Browns are up next, correct?
Yes, the Browns are on the clock right now.
I'm trying to find a Browns fan, and I saw one just to get their idea of what they think.
Oh, well.
Yeah, but hold on one second. I'm gonna mute my mic and see if I can get a Browns fan. Okay.
All right, go ahead.
Hold on.
The Cleveland Browns. My friend Lamont on the draft last night. I enjoy giving him a hard time. I just do. And so it'll be very interesting to see if he calls in. Oh, and we have a trade. The Buffalo Bills have traded up for the 4th overall pick. It'd be very interesting to see who they go with here. ESPN.com has their needs listed as offensive tackle, then wide receiver, then safety. But if they're going to go offensive tackle with Robinson already off the board, I would say if they're going to go tackle, it has to be Jake Matthews here. Jim, are you back?
I am back.
Just reacting to the trade.
My good friend Jeff on the air.
Okay.
And I'm going to mute the mic very briefly, but he's from Cleveland, a longtime Browns fan, and love to hear what he thinks the Browns should do. So let me mute it real quick, and then we'll get him on.
Wait, what does he think about the trade?
Oh, what trade?
The pick was traded to the Buffalo Bills.
Oh, really? Well, I don't know. Let's put him on and find out.
Hi, Keith.
Hi, how you doing? What do you think? What do you think about the Browns trading this pick?
Man, it's I can't say it's unexpected. I sort of didn't know where they were going to go, if it was going to be Jake Matthews or if it was going to be Manziel or what they were going to do. I don't know what number the Buffalo pick is.
Buffalo selects 9th, so if they just traded down to go to the 9th overall pick, they could probably still get somebody.
Yeah, I feel like the quarterback class they sort of were nonplussed by anyway. So in some ways, this is kind of proving the fact that I don't think they loved any of the QBs up at that level, and they feel like they can get what they want to get a little lower. 9th pick, it looks like. So
did they just make I'm trying to find who they traded for. Whether they got.
Like they're saying 9th pick and 2015 first and 4th round pick is what they're saying.
Wow.
I guess that's like where they're saying Mike Evans might be available at. So unless the Raiders take him, it might be a wide receiver that they're going for.
Yeah, if they're wide receiver, if they're going wide receiver here, it's got to be Sammy Watkins.
Yeah. I mean, you would think so, unless Buffalo takes him, but I don't think they will. They'll probably go for.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I'm talking about Buffalo. Sorry.
Yeah.
All right, well, stick around because after the Browns pick at the 9th spot, I want to know your reaction to it.
All right.
Well, thanks. And the Buffalo Bills select wide receiver Sammy Watkins. Wow. What an unexpected move. The Buffalo Bills with the second worst rated passing offense, giving E.J. Manuel some much needed weapons. Jim, what's your take on this? Are you there?
Hey, Keith, I'm here.
Jim, are you there? Sammy Watkins to the Bills. What do you think about that?
I'm a little surprised. I mean, in every mock draft that we've done, the Bills win offensive line in this particular case. So I'm a little stunned. I mean, he's a great wide receiver. Certainly, he'll fit into this offense, which is a very young offense, by the way. And I got to tell you, as far as Stevie Johnson is concerned, this sounds like the death knell of his career in Buffalo. I think Stevie Johnson might be moving on.
Wow. Did not see this coming at all. Hello. There we go. Lots of activity where you are. Hello?
Keith, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can barely hear you. I don't know if it's louder now on my end.
Yeah, it just got really loud on your end.
I think people here are just getting really all jacked up over this.
Well,
it got real quiet for the pick, and then suddenly, after the pick, everybody's like, oh, okay, let's start talking again. So, hey, did you hear the trade? Just because I've got all this paperwork in front of me, I assume the Browns moved down to the Buffalo Bills in round 1. Do you know what else they got in the trade?
From what that young man that you put on the the phone was telling me they moved on to the 9th, and they get a 2015 first and fourth round pick as well from the Bills.
Oh, so all right. So the only additional pick, or I'm sorry, the only pick they got this year was to go to number 9.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's unbelievable. I think
It's kind of strange, actually.
Yeah, I'm thinking that. Wow, did they give up a lot for a wide receiver?
Yeah, me too. I bet there's some Browns fans not very happy right now.
Wow.
Well,
yeah, but no. I think if you're a Bills fan, you're not happy.
Oh, because they took Watkins instead of sitting. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, absolutely.
You gave up a lot to go up there and grab a wide receiver that you already had a pretty good one in Stevie Johnson.
I agree. I agree with you.
Wow, there's a lot of that going on.
So, who do we got next? We got the Raiders. Now, when I did the mock draft for them this past weekend, I was I focused in on getting them a defensive tackle or somebody to throw in on the defensive line, because from my perspective, that was the one part of their defense that if they could add a player, it would make a huge impact into the future, and they could put off getting a quarterback to the second or third round.